Now that the economic survey, the budget is out, a lot of things which have been mentioned in that, for example, various schemes that have been mentioned, they are not already present, but the new schemes that are coming, for example, the 5 Pradhan Mantri scheme package for the skill development and employment, etc. Like these, many things will keep coming, the rules, guidelines, etc. So in the coming days, a lot of current affairs is going to include those things, and we are starting that today itself with the decline in India's textile sector. Now, this is on the basis of another report which has come, which has talked about that there is a decline in India's textile sector. So we will see how much the decline is, what are the reasons for this decline, and what can we do to address this decline which is there in the textile sector. Now this is of course going to be important, the various schemes and all brought in by the government for prelims. At the same time, this entire topic is going to be very important for your upcoming mains examination as well. This sector is going to be very important. So let's get started. So what is the news actually? The news is that the textile sector was worth $15 billion. Okay, so it was worth $15 billion. Now from $15 billion, it has now declined to, with respect to the exports we are talking about. With respect to the exports we are talking about. If you look at the imports have rather increased. Imports of the textile sector has rather increased and the exports have gone down. So basically a decline. So it is hampering our balance of payment as well. We are importing more and more and exporting less. Now if you look at the quantum of export is higher than import, but it was considerably higher earlier. Now the gap is closing down because the exports are coming down and the imports are increasing. So that is what we have to understand. So according to a report by what? Global Trade Research Initiative, India's garment export in 2022-23 stood at 14.5 billion compared to $15 billion in 2013-14. Now, when we were in 2013-14 or let's say 15-16, that time only the realization was there that India would decline. Why was that realization? That realization was there due to two countries. One is Vietnam and the other is Bangladesh. These are the top players in textile sector and we will see how they are performing, which actually indicates why India is also going down. So this report has said that the exports have basically come down. Now if you look at the textile and apparel industry in India, you'll get to know a bit of details how important it is. Of course it creates a huge amount of jobs, right? A lot of jobs of weaving and sewing, all these jobs are created. So if you look at the share in domestic market, so the domestic apparel and textile industry, it contributes approximately 2.3% of GDP, 13% to industrial GDP. So out of the total industrial GDP, it is 13% of it and it contributes 12% to the exports. So the contribution to export is actually quite high. When you look at the global trade, 4% of the share is of India. India has 4% of the share in the global trade of textiles. So this is also a good number, right? Furthermore, when you look at the exports, India is third largest exporter, which will be the top two, Vietnam and Bangladesh. Production of raw material, again, when it comes to jute, cotton, India is one of the highest producers of the raw material that is required in the textile sector. So India is one of the largest producer of what? Cotton and jute. And cotton and jute are what? They are nothing but raw materials for the textile industry. India is second largest producer of silk as well, and 95% of hand woven fabric comes from India. So now this is to actually be analyzing it, this is a positive as well as a negative to some extent. 95% is coming as hand woven, but now machine woven are in demand also, and the technology upgradation in India is not there. So that would be again one of the reason why the total quantum is down. No doubt we would like to keep it at 95% or further increase it, but at the same time the mechanized one also should increase so that the total export increases. So that is also important. Now what are the challenges? The challenges are expensive raw material. Now one side we are saying that we are the largest producer of cotton, jute, silk, but at the same time we are saying that expensive raw material. Why is that so? That is so because the vagaries of agricultural production, the vagaries of the weather, 50% rain fed, etc. So at times the production can fall down, leading to increase in the prices, and there are various other essential raw materials which may increase in prices. So when that happens, it would make the export costlier. When the exports are costlier, the other countries would want less because it is expensive for them. So cotton price fluctuation, especially cotton price fluctuation. Why? Because cotton crops can be easily destroyed with untimed rainfall. They need 2 months of sunshine. If it is not there, untimed rainfall can destroy the cotton crops, so specifically cotton crops. Then you have imports from Bangladesh. Now, India is importing more and more and exporting less and less. Export is going down, import is going up. Why is that happening? That is happening because of imports from countries like Bangladesh, which provide cheap imports. There is no custom duty, etc. also. So by providing custom duty, the cost could have been increased and the imports may reduce. That could be done, but since it is not there, more and more imports from Bangladesh is coming because their product is around 15 to 25% cheaper than the Indian product. So of course the customer would want that. Now, challenges, what other challenges are there? Competition. Now have a look at the competition. This, specifically this. For 10 years, you know, what has happened is garment export from Vietnam has grown nearly 82%. It has grown nearly 82%, and that from Bangladesh has grown nearly 70%. And what has it hit? We are talking about exports, just the exports, right? Just the exports. So for Vietnam, it is $33 billion. For Bangladesh, it is 43.8, close to $44 billion. And what is the number for India? $14.5 billion. So India is literally 1/3 of Bangladesh and less than one half of Vietnam. So that is the stark difference which is there, and we are facing this issue. Now, one more reason for that is of course the cheap labor. Of course labor is cheap in India, but it is cheaper in Vietnam and Bangladesh. In Vietnam and Bangladesh, they have a concept of sweatshops. So remember this concept. What is the concept of sweatshops? In a small room, 10, 15, 20 people will sit and do the work of stitching, sewing, all those things in uninhabitable or inhumane condition, getting 10, 15, 20, 50 rupees a day, hardly anything. Now those kind of situations, unorganized sector, less payment, unhygienic condition, situation in place and amenities is all there in India, but comparatively it is worse. So it is not that we would want to make the condition of our laborers worse and improve our exports. No, of course not, right? But they are letting that happen and ensuring their products are cheaper, and that is why further improving. So we have to take certain steps. We need to ensure proper wages and everything in addition to increasing the exports. Infrastructure constraints are there, of course, with respect to technology. So we have basically outdated technology, right? Mechanization and all needs to be improved. Technology upgradation is required. Now, what are the initiatives or solution the government is taking? The government has basically brought in amended technology upgradation fund scheme. So this fund will be made available in the textile sector for amending, for upgrading the technology. This is good. Second is scheme for capacity building in textile sector. So the government wants that there are two ways to increase the capacity. One is to get in new people onboarded into the textile industry, or those who are already existing increase their capacity. So this talks about capacity building. So if the unit is smaller, make it bigger, incentivize for them to get bigger. Or else in India what happens is textile industries, the textile factory or a textile business if you have started, At times deliberately people keep it low, people keep it less than 10 people employed, so that they don't come under the organized sector, and then they don't come under various rules and regulations that are there. So the people are also happy with what they are earning, they are not expanding. So the government needs to incentivize, people need to feel benefits in expanding and having more people and coming into the organized sector, right? Then this is a very good thing, government has come up with production linked incentive scheme. What is production linked incentive scheme? At every incremental increase in production, you will keep getting incentives. So if X unit or if 10 units of production is there, maybe there is no incentive, but the moment it reaches 15 units, there is incentive. When it reaches 20 units, there is further more incentive. So all incentives are not given at once. It is given step by step depending upon the incremental increase in your production. Again, this is leading to expansion and capacity building. Then PM Mitra scheme to boost employment generation through setting up of 7 PM mega integrated textile regions and apparel parks. Now what is this all about? See, what happens is the government themselves enter and invest, provide liquidity, provide facility. Let's say for startups. For startup we have the government had come up with startup incubators, which helps the startup, gives them advice, trains them, skills them, etc., etc. In the same manner, setting up of 7 PM mega integrated textile region and apparels, which will facilitate or prime the textile sector to expand. Okay. So they have come up in greenfield as well as brownfield projects. Greenfield project is a project which is newly started, which did not exist before. That is why greenfield, the field was completely green and then you started the project. Brownfield means there was an already existing project which you are expanding. So you should know this concept as well. Then you have scheme for integrated textile parks. Again, the textile parks, that region completely would be facilitating textile production, textile exports, so on and so forth. Right. So encourage more and more organized and efficient approach. Then you have integrated skill development scheme, very important, very important. See, integrated skill development scheme is to ensure that you get skilled laborers. Now let's say the requirement of labor is 100, but you have only 10 labor in the market. So they will charge more, the labor cost will also increase. So if you require 100 skilled labor, you should have 100 skilled labor. Right. So we have to build that capacity, and this scheme is going to help in that. So these are the various methods that the government has taken in order to uplift the textile sector. Right. Now it remains to be seen, we are of course quite far away, but with this, in addition to technology development, along with the skill development of the laborers, and if we can cut the cost of the raw material, we can of course close the gap between ourselves and countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh without providing inhuman condition for our laborers, as is the case in Vietnam and Bangladesh. Thank you.